Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I use she, her pronouns, and I am your host of Bet on Yourself, Sis. So, welcome back to season 2. This episode is with Shervon Laurice, who is a transformational coach who guides leaders and entrepreneurs through embodied identity shifts, which help them have a greater impact on the world. She is all about alignment and embodiment. And we talk about identity shifts and what they look like. We talk about pivoting and how to know when to pivot. We talk about singing your own song and moving at your own pace and not comparing yourself to others. Shervon and I have a lot in common in terms of how we grew up and some of the mindsets and identities that we had to shift. And I learned so much from her. So I know that this conversation will help you bet on yourself. Yeah. Bet on yourself, sis. Bet on yourself, sis. You've got the goal, confidence and style. Let your power show. Shervon, I am so excited to speak with you today. You are all about impact and identity and alignment and coaching. And I'm just really excited to hear what you have to say, excited to hear all about your journey into entrepreneurship and business. So let's
Mm.
not keep the people waiting. So let's dive right in, Shervon. The first thing I want to talk about is who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you first for the invitation. It's a
Absolutely.
pleasure to actually be here and talk with you about these things. So thank you, thank you, thank you. My name is Shervon Laurice, and I am located in Maryland, DC area, and I am a psychotherapist by trade turned coach, transformational coach. I have been a therapist for over 23 years now. And so now I'm dating myself. And I became a therapist, one of the reasons, because I didn't see too many Black therapists
Mm,
in the Black community.
mhm,
That was one of my first reasons. Um, and I grew up in a very Christian household. My parents are ministers. And so for me, I felt like I needed for myself to find a more well rounded experience of the world and to be able to work out some of the things that I grew up with and had questions about and so forth. And therapy for me had been a space where I could do that. And I wanted to be able to offer that to other people.
yeah.
And fast forward to the pandemic of 2020, I realized in all of the years that I had been holding space for people, there was often not enough room or space to talk about once people got to the space where they were had completed or moved through their healing journey to really look at, well, what does life look like
Mm,
moving forward?
yeah.
Right? Life, relationships, careers, business. What does that look like moving forward? Because once people have taken the deep dive into their past and figured out, well, why do I do all the things that I do?
Mhm,
Pretty much therapy's over.
mm,
That's it. And so I started realizing some of the conversations would shift to what is now what we call coaching. And I was like, oh, and the pandemic was such a pivotal turning point for so many people.
yeah.
And once we got past the stress and the anxiety of it, a lot of people were left with me included, what is there left? Right? I don't have to go to work every day. I don't have to run this commute every day. I've got time in my day. What else is there that I want to be doing with my life?
Mm,
And so that's where my mindset around coaching started to really formulate. And so I call myself a transformational coach because I help people really step into um, embodied identity, right?
mm,
our minds run, and our lives run on old conditioning,
Mhm.
old patterns that we were taught, right? Old ways of being that formed our original identities. And when we're really looking at stepping into a coaching process or a coaching container, it has to be about identity shift. It can't
Mhm.
just be mindset
Yeah.
shift. It can't just be affirmations, right?
Yeah.
Setting goals and then moving towards it, because then you're moving with the same identity that built
Mm.
either your career or your current business or your current life as a whole.
Yeah.
And in order to really have shifts and changes and sustained success, and expansion, you've got to inhabit a whole different version of yourself. And
Mhm.
so that's the work that I do. And that really gets me jazzed up nowadays.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't know that, and I think most of us don't know that when we get into this business entrepreneurship, right? We
Hmm.
don't know that it requires a whole identity shift, right?
Exactly. No one tells us, no one warns us.
No. And all of those things, like the things that you listed, the mindset shift, the affirmations, like those are products maybe of that identity shift, but that's the most
Right.
important. That kind of comes first, right? To be successful,
Yes.
I think. It has to, right? You said so many things that I want to go back to. First of all, I share a lot of the sentiment of what you said. I grew up in a very strict Christian household as well,
Mm. Hmm.
where therapy was not talked about. Our business is our business; it stays in the house, that type
That's
of
right.
thing. And when I finally, as an adult, went on a search for a black therapist, a black woman therapist specifically,
Mhm.
and I finally found her. I just started therapy. I, like, literally had my first 2 sessions this week and last week, so I'm grateful. I finally did that, but it was hard. It was
Yeah.
really hard finding first a black woman therapist and then
Yes.
a black woman therapist that was a right fit for me, a good fit for me.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
They
Yes.
don't
I
tell
tell
you it's gonna be this
everybody, like,
hard.
you should shop for a therapist. You don't just plop
Yes,
down with the first therapist that you meet with. They may
absolutely.
not be a good match for you.
Because that
Um,
happened, yeah.
yeah, I mean, my career, I mean, I identify as bisexual, and my career with clients has been filled with so many people who said, they found a black therapist, but they felt like they were being chastised because
Mm.
of their gender
Mhm.
identity or their sexual orientation.
Mhm. So take it a step further, a queer black therapist who's a good fit for you. Woo.
Right.
So we
Exactly.
definitely need you and more of you out there for sure.
So yeah, it's
Um,
a hard way to go sometimes out there.
yeah, absolutely. But I'm a total advocate for therapy as well. So I
Wonderful.
I see the benefit. You also brought up the pandemic
Yeah.
2020 and on. We'll put it like that. Um, I was one of the many people who got laid off during
Mm.
COVID, and like you said, was just kind of looking at like, okay, well, what do I do? I
Yeah.
was fortunate enough to be, I was on unemployment, so I was making enough money to like survive.
Mhm.
But it's just like, okay, I'm not going to work. Things are closed. What do I
Right.
do?
What happens now? Right.
Yeah, what now? And it's funny because that kinda sparked my yoga journey that it's a whole
Ooh,
'nother story,
nice.
but yeah, it kinda just sparked a whole spiritual journey of, like, who am I? What the heck is going on in my life? And
Mhm.
all of that, and, I know COVID was the pandemic was a hard time for a lot of people, but I think a lot of us had these spiritual awakenings that were very needed because we had to
Yes.
slow down, right? We
Yes.
had to stop.
Yep.
We had no choice. We couldn't just keep going and avoid. We had to slow down and
Mhm.
stop. So,
Yeah. It's a powerful thing, and I think that's part of yoga in general, right? Meditation in particular
mm,
is it invites you to take a moment of your day
Yeah.
in stillness and in quiet
Mhm.
to, think about, to contemplate, to connect to the divine.
Mhm.
And the pandemic gave us all of that
Yes.
for months on
Yes.
end.
Yes. And nobody knew it was
That
gonna be that long, but
No, we did not. It was so funny. I remember seeing those first days of everything shutting down
Mhm.
and the lines for the liquor stores, like
Oh,
people
yeah.
lined up to get. I was like, I am not drinking because I do not know what this is. And
Yeah.
I need to have my wits about me.
Mhm.
I was just
That
like, nope.
was smart.
I was sober and I was doing yoga and meditation every day. I was just
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
don't know what's happening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I started back into yoga every day, and I would do it outside, especially because I
Oh,
got laid off in
beautiful.
March, so it was
Mhm.
kinda like perfect timing, honestly, when I think about it, because
Yep.
things were coming back to life, even though things were shutting
Yeah.
down, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the outside
outside was
was
coming back to
beautiful,
exactly, things
yeah.
were thriving, gardens and forests and things
Yes.
like that. So, I was outside in my backyard, just in the garden, like, breathing and meditating and just like, yeah, I know, like, shit is going down around
It's
me,
going down.
but on the inside, you know what?
Like,
I feel
you was
good.
zen. Yeah, indeed.
So let's talk about what being an entrepreneur means to
Mm.
you. A lot of time when I have this conversation, the same thing comes up. It's about like freedom, right?
That
Freedom
is
to
the word that
choose.
comes to
And
mind for
here we
me.
go. Talk about it.
It is. For me, especially at this stage in my life, I call myself the accidental entrepreneur because I got my graduate degree, and it is in pastoral counseling.
Mm,
And so it does have that spiritual focus for
yeah.
for clients who want it. I also see clients who completely are secular and have no interest, right? But my degree, it kind of I finished it. I was ready and I started my private practice part time alongside the full time job that I had.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was just this way to make sure that I was using the degree that I had gotten, number one,
Mhm.
and to make, when you're younger, you always want a side hustle.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I was making extra money on the side. Did not think of myself as a business owner or an entrepreneur. I didn't open a business account until I was 10 years in.
Mm,
And that's when it started to dawn on me. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, because my practice was growing. I had enough people that, 2 or 3 nights a week, I had clients and people were sending referrals. And I every happy hour, because if you're in the DC area, happy hours reigned supreme before the
mm.
pandemic.
Yeah.
And so the first question people ask you at a happy hour is, what do you do?
Mhm.
And so that's
Mhm.
how I built my practice, right?
Yes.
And so I didn't even have to advertise. So it was
Mm,
great. So I didn't even think of myself as an entrepreneur. Then I was working for the federal government.
okay.
And about 10 years in, well, just about 8 years in, I started rethinking that full-time job thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And some things were going down in the office and something dawned on me. I was like, I don't really have to be there.
Mm.
Huh?
Yeah.
I got this other thing I do. I don't really have to do that. And here's the power of meditation. There was a morning, it was August of 2012.
Mm,
I had sat for meditation that morning, and I think it was a weekend because I wasn't at work yet. So I think it was like a Saturday or something, or a Sunday. And it was a particularly great moment in meditation. And I got up, grabbed some water, and this voice, as clear as I'm sitting here talking to you,
mhm,
came up and said, "Why are you still there?"
mm, mhm.
And I paused. I said, "Yeah, why am I still there?" And then the voice goes on, "You know you don't like having a boss."
Mm.
Truth. Truth. Especially one that I question. Like, if they're like all on the up and up, I will follow you to the end of a cliff, right?
Mhm.
But if I have to question you,
Yeah, understood.
and so it was August of 2012 that I started to really shift my thinking.
Mm,
I opened a business account. I actually got a website. I didn't even have a website yet. Got a website built and set in my mind that I would be out of there in 2 years' time. It
okay.
only took one
Mm,
because I
yeah.
start, it's the power of focusing your mind with an intention, right? And so more and more referrals kept coming.
Mhm.
And I filled all the spaces that I could possibly fill
Nice.
in my part time schedule. And I was left with this moment in 2013. It was the summer of 2013. It was either I quit my job and build the practice up, or I stay where I was.
Hmm.
The government shut down.
Oh,
I
hmm.
was done. I was like,
There we
oh yeah, I'm
go.
good.
Yeah.
I
That's
was like, I'm good. I turned in my resignation during the shutdown. I was
you
like, I'm
didn't
out.
even have to make the decision. It was made for you. It was like, this is what you're gonna do.
Exactly, because I was like, this is some BS. This is bullshit. Why does this happen every single year?
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, it was October of 2013 that I went full time
Yeah.
into my practice and really started thinking of myself as a business owner.
Beautiful.
Entrepreneur really started to come about in 2020, to really
Okay.
think about myself as an entrepreneur and ask myself, well, what am I building?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
What am I doing? What am I building? And so, from coming out of that pandemic, was adding the coaching, being more specific about the clients that I take, right? Expanding. My original thought was to expand into a group practice and
Mm.
hire other psychotherapists. And that never really came about. That, like, I hired a couple of people, but it didn't really grow. So I kind of pulled back from that and just focused more on I still do therapy, but focused on the coaching. And that seems to be kind of where my groove is
Nice.
right there. But yeah, entrepreneurship brings about freedom for me. It's that ability, like my own coach says, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have to ask anybody for a raise.
Yes.
You don't have to sit and listen to somebody give you an evaluation that you do not agree with.
Mhm. Yep.
You get to choose to build the kind of life that you really want. Um, Having the hours, the working hours that you really want. And so, and especially if you now in this lovely online world that we live in, you can now work from so many different places.
Yep.
So it is that freedom of time, freedom in finances, if things are going well in that regard for you, um, freedom of thought, right?
Mhm.
Um, and freedom to expand when you're ready to do so.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful thing. Um, and you move according to your own identity and your values and, your truth. It's a beautiful thing. So I,
Yeah.
I always encourage people, like, when I left the federal government, several people were like, oh, I can't do that. I love having a paycheck every 2 weeks. I was like, I don't love having a boss,
Mm.
and I don't love 40
Yes.
hours a week.
Yeah.
you
A
know?
lot of people have this it's like a sense of security. It's not actual security,
No,
right?
and we saw that this year. Well,
Ex
last year. Yeah.
Okay, I saw that when I got laid off because I thought of it
Yeah.
as a secure job too. I know I'm gonna have this paycheck coming every 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
But then I got laid off and
Yeah.
it was very different. So, yeah,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
want I want you to talk about you made multiple shifts, but you talked specifically about 2 shifts and I want to hear more about those. You said there was a shift to becoming a business owner where you
Mhm.
realize, like, I have this business. I don't actually have to work this other job that I don't really like and have
Mhm.
questions about my boss and all of those things, right? Like,
Mhm.
that was a full identity shift, I'm sure, right? But then
Yeah.
you had another shift later on into entrepreneurship where it's like, this is not just a baby, right? Like, I
Mhm.
am an entrepreneur and I can create other things to add to my business, or I can completely pivot because I have
Yep.
that freedom because I'm an entrepreneur, right?
That's
So talk
right.
about what that felt like, maybe
Mhm.
something that led up to those shifts, and yeah, like what
Yeah.
actually the shift was.
Indeed. So the shift from employee to business owner,
Mm,
I think, was an easier one in the sense that I knew I had a skill that was marketable and that I didn't have to have a boss to market it. Right.
okay.
And I think there are a lot of business owners out here who are in that same boat. They have a skill
Yeah.
and they can be a consultant. They can, open up their own brick and mortar. They can have a shingle, put their shingle out. They can do an online thing. But what happens when we only see ourselves as a business owner is we become the employee of our own business,
Mm. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So, you just kind of move according to the clients or the people that you're able to bring in, and you exchange hours
Mhm.
for dollars. And you figure out how many hours you need to work in order to have enough dollars to build your life.
Yeah.
And that is the easiest way to step into that freedom we talked about, right? Because again, you still don't have a boss, which is great. And you still can, set your hours according to what you want.
Okay.
And when you're ready to take a vacation, you don't have to ask anybody.
Mhm.
And when I remember there were some things over the years, especially in that first 10 to 15 years of my practice, when I wanted a little bit more income to do something, I would just take more clients, right?
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I
Mhm.
just need one or two more clients, and then I can put that money aside to do the thing, and da 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 da
Yeah.
da, right? So that's more you're working in your business.
Yeah.
When you start thinking on the entrepreneurial level, there has to be a shift in how you see yourself. There
Mhm.
has to become a shift in how you identify in the world.
Mhm.
And whatever that shift is, means you have to let go of old identity,
Mhm.
old limiting beliefs. The limiting beliefs are huge for all of us.
Yeah.
And you don't really realize it until you're trying to step into entrepreneurship and to expand,
Mm.
because then they all come up.
Mhm.
They all come up because it's like your brain is in the back part of your brain is like, who do you think you are?
Right.
Really out here
Uh-huh.
you can do.
Mhm.
So to me, entrepreneurship is like the biggest challenge of a human's life, probably besides getting married and
Mm.
raising children,
Mm.
right? Because those two will challenge you in different
Mhm.
ways as a human being. But building a business from an entrepreneurial framework is it's challenging, and you're either going to level up with it so that you expand, or you're going to contract.
Mhm.
That's really what it is. And so for me, I had to challenge the old limiting beliefs that you have to stay small to stay safe,
Mm.
right? For me, being a therapist fell in line with that, right? That you're, as a therapist, you should not want too much,
Mm.
right? You're
Yeah.
in the world to help people, but you should not want too much, which is
Yeah.
part of my Christian upbringing,
Mhm.
right? Don't ask for too
Oh
much,
yeah.
right? Stay small. just enough
Mhm.
is what, we're kind of raised with. And so the desire to expand and to offer more and to be able to step into something that was never what I thought about as a young person to do, I really had to shed old beliefs
Mhm.
and do the hard work, like young people like to call shadow work.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
there was definitely that, a lot of crying, a lot of there was a couple of psychedelic journey trips where I had to like shed
Yes.
old parts of myself. Just a lot of letting go.
Mhm.
And it's like peeling back an onion layer, because there will be points where you do some of that hard work and you step further into entrepreneurial work. And then you realize you hit something new and you realize, oh, I didn't look at that,
Hmm.
or I didn't go deep enough
Mhm.
into that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, it was everything to do with money. I feel like I
Mhm.
can manifest I manifested the house that I live in right
Yeah.
now. Right. But money messages from childhood,
Mm.
if you ever ask yourself, what is the first memory of money that I ever had?
Mm.
That is likely the message that you're running on about money.
Mm.
And so for me, mine was there's never enough,
Mm.
because my parents were often struggling. My mom separated from my stepfather when I was 10. So that set me up for this understanding that money is scarce.
Mm.
You have to work hard for it. And you could be working many hours and still not have enough of it.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
So that I had not really fully examined until I was really shifting my mindset from
Mhm.
business owner to entrepreneurial person. I was just like, oh, I did not realize I was still carrying that.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that was my struggle. For some people it's other things, but
Yeah.
for a lot of entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs, um, their old identity around money or old limiting beliefs around money can hem them up, and
Mhm.
that belief can be connected to your identity.
Mm.
And identity is huge in entrepreneurial work.
Yeah. That is such a great point. I have not really sat and thought about like my first memory of money, but that's something I definitely want to do and see
Yeah.
how it's affected me today.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
know one of the limited beliefs that I had to let go of. It surrounded like being grateful.
mm,
Now we have this whole like, practice gratitude and things like that. And,
mhm,
it's all over. But I think when I was first stepping into entrepreneurship, it was similar thoughts to you of like, I don't need a lot. I don't
yeah,
need a lot of money. I don't need a lot of clients. I don't need a lot going on, those type of
yep.
things. Because I was coming from a mindset of like I have to be busy. If I'm
Mhm.
busy, if I'm booked and busy, then
Yes.
I am successful, right?
Yes.
It don't matter if I'm not making enough money to cover
Yes.
my right. But if I'm booked and busy, I'm successful.
That's
And
it.
reframing that mindset,
Mhm.
woo, that
Yes,
was very
indeed.
hard. I had to realize, like, number 1, rest is very important. I was burnt
Yes.
out all the time and
Yep,
still functioning. I'll
yep.
put it like that because I was functioning. I was not
Mhm.
thriving. I was upset a lot of the time. My
Yeah.
emotions were all over the place. I was unbalanced. I was out of alignment
Mm.
completely, but I was busy. So I thought
Yes.
I was successful.
Yeah. Because our mindsets are such that busy is better.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's also part of why the pandemic freaked so many people out.
Absolutely, because when I'm busy, I don't have to think about anything else. I'm tunnel vision, right? I'm focused
Yeah.
on whatever is in front of me, whatever that next thing is. I'm always making my schedule, my calendar, like I'm busy. So I don't even have time to
Yep.
think about the limited beliefs, right? I don't have
Mhm.
time to like sit and breathe and meditate and reflect on my day. No, I wasn't doing none of
Mhm.
that. So that
Absolutely.
was a mindset shift that was very hard for me. And I didn't realize like it was a whole new identity. I was really taking on a whole new identity of rest is important. I am not going to burn
Mhm.
myself out for anybody,
That's right.
none of my clients. I created boundaries. I had to it was a whole new shift. I'm a whole new person.
Good for
And
you.
something I'm struggling still with is the gratitude thing. And it's partially because of the things that I was just saying, but also growing up in a Christian household, I was always taught to be grateful for what I
Mhm.
have, which is a good thing. Like I I do think we need to be grateful for the things that we have, but it was a like be grateful for what you have and don't ask for more.
Right.
That, right? So
Right.
it was a complete mindset and identity shift again, or I'm still going through this of like, I can want more, and that's okay.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I
If
didn't know
we
that was
if we
okay.
supposedly serve an abundant God or
Okay.
live in an abundant universe,
Yeah.
why can't it be thank you, more please?
Mhm. There you go. I'm
Right?
grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for what I'm
Yes.
building, but
Mhm.
I can want
Mhm.
more. I can wanna make this thing bigger, and that
Yes.
can be and of service to others thing, right? I want to serve
Absolutely.
more people. I wanna help more
That's the whole
people,
point. Yep.
right?
Yeah. And when you have more, you can give more.
Yes.
Right? So, why are we in the Black community always given that message to not want more, but we are always in service to other people?
Mhm.
If we have more, we can be in service to even more people. like,
Absolutely.
like when I really started thinking about that, I was like, somehow that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't go together.
Yes.
Like if you have more, you are more able to give
Mhm.
more freely.
It's, like the starving artist mindset, right? If I'm an
Yes.
artist, I'm somebody who produces things for other people, then I don't
Mhm.
need as much, right?
Yep.
Like, I can function on very low, resources and things like that, but no, it doesn't
Right.
have to be that way. I don't
No.
have to starve because I wanna produce things for other people. There
Yep.
are plenty of people who are successful, right?
Mhm.
And there's service, their work is to other people, being in
Right.
service to other people, right? So yeah, that is
Mhm.
definitely it's in our
Now that's a
community for
mindset
sure.
shift.
It's a mindset shift and an
Mhm.
identity for sure.
And an identity
Identity
shift.
shift for
Mhm.
sure, excuse me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's I think we really have to we've done a disservice to
Yeah,
so many people with that languaging. And we have to get
absolutely.
out of it.
Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I'm a podcast producer, director, coach, and host. And I want to tell you all about my production company, Pink Lady Productions. We collaborate with creatives like you who are driven to share your message by launching your podcast from A to Z and coaching you through the process. To learn more about our services, check out our website at pinkladyprod.com. That's PINKLADYPROD.com. So you have already told us about some challenges that you faced along the way to getting here where
Mhm.
you are now, right? But let's talk about more challenges, and I want you to talk about pivoting because
Yeah.
I know you said that like knowing when to pivot was like the biggest challenge or one of the biggest challenges that you face. So please talk
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah. So for me, it was the idea of expanding my practice into a group practice.
Mm.
So coming out of the pandemic, I knew so I have a bunch of course, therapists running packs. So I have a bunch of therapist friends, and at least two of them had turned their solo practice into a group practice.
Mhm.
One is a very small, I think she's got 2 or 3 people, and then the other one is pretty significant. She had about 6 people. And so, and then a guy who I was sharing the office suite with at the time when the pandemic hit had just turned his practice into a
Mm.
group practice. And to date, it is still growing. So I was coming out of the pandemic saying, okay, I'm going to turn my practice into a group practice so that I can also expand into coaching without feeling like I'm taking so much time from the therapy piece.
Mhm.
And it just, no matter what I did, whether it was Google ads, whether it was marketing in this way or that way, it just never got traction for me. And I could not understand it. And so I'm still moving in this direction of coaching. And finally, last year, I just let it go. I just said, okay, I need to stop because it was almost like I just kept hitting a wall and I kept comparing myself to other folks who seem to be successful in it. And I'm talking to them and they're like, oh, yeah, I just did. Da, 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 da. I'm like, why is that not working for me? And when I finally paused long enough to, first of all, make the decision to stop moving in that direction and stop asking, why is this not working for me? And going, okay, so what is working for me?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
I knew that coaching was lighting me up. And if everything is energy, right? What we put our attention to grows. And it was the day that I just sat with it in meditation. And what came up for me originally was disappointment, right? Like, why couldn't I turn this into a successful group practice? And I realized I had been carrying that disappointment. But as entrepreneurs do, we just keep moving, right? We don't have, like our parents used to say, we don't have time for that,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
We don't have time to wallow in this. We got to keep moving. But that day, I allowed myself to sit in it.
Mhm.
And I sat with that disappointment for a good 3 or 4 days. The tears came, finally let it move through me, and finally released it. Third day, I realized that did not grow because it was not my dream.
Mm.
I stepped into that idea because others around me
Mhm.
said this would be a great idea and that they were doing it. But it was not my dream.
Yeah.
And I was, as soon as I came to that, I was like, oh, okay. So I stopped asking that question of why did this not work for me? Because it was not mine to
Mhm.
begin with. And it was so hilarious. As soon as I let it go, I suddenly got influx of new referrals for the things that I work on,
Mhm.
right? The things that I like doing. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I see you now.
Yeah.
So it's this idea of knowing when to pivot. And it's really listening inward,
Mm.
right? To what it is that we know based on our identity, what it is that we desire, and the song that we want to sing out into the world,
Mm.
right? Not everybody else's idea of what we should and should not do, right? I had been singing my own song for years as soon as I left my, as they say, good government job, right? Had been doing my own thing. And then I kind of let other people talk me into something else.
Mhm.
So knowing when to pivot has to be about what's coming up and ringing true for you
Yeah.
and doing that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, that's a key thing.
You know what keeps coming up in this conversation is like the pause, the sit still, the reflect,
Yeah.
those type of things, because that's the only way you know what you actually want, what's right for you, right? Spending time with yourself.
Yes.
I love that you brought that up because I think it's just a great example of like what is for you will be for you, no matter
Always.
how hard you're fighting it, no matter which other way you're going, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is yours will be yours. It's already yours. You just have to get it.
Yep.
That it's just, yeah,
So
it's so
true.
profound because I think we do that all the time as entrepreneurs, right? We see like, oh, this is working for them and what they do is kind of similar to what I do, so it should work for me, right?
Hmm.
But no, it was never about that. Maybe you were supposed to join in and collaborate with that person on something, right? Or
Right.
maybe who knows, right? It could be anything,
Yep.
but it wasn't yours. It wasn't for you.
That's right.
And that is a huge reason why we should stop comparing ourselves, right?
Isn't it? Right?
Hmm.
Isn't it? And I don't tend to do that.
Mhm.
And I got caught up in that moment.
Mhm. Comparison is a thief of joy, right? So, yeah, you comparing yourself, you looking over at what other people are doing, and you
Hmm.
automatically start thinking like, "I'm not good enough,"
That's
right?
right.
It's I wish we could think outwardly first, but normally it's like an inward thing of like, "Well, what's wrong with me? What did I
That's
do
right.
wrong? I'm not good enough," things like that. And then it's
Yeah.
just like, "No, focus
Mm-mm.
outward, look at the data, right? And let's see," like you said, "This is not working, but what is working?" Right? Because
Right.
there are things that are working for you. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I
And
just
it's really too, when we compare ourselves to other people, we set ourselves up for hustle culture. Because
mm,
then you start moving at a
mhm,
pace and a rhythm, doing things that are not yours.
mhm.
Right? And you just keep going. And that's where the burnout comes for
Absolutely.
a lot of people is that hustle mindset, that hustle culture, instead of
Mhm,
moving from your own inner compass so that you're expanding this way.
mhm,
Right. So yeah, so that's one of the things I talk about in my work with people in my coaching program is like letting go of hustle culture. Like don't do
mhm,
that.
mhm.
Move at your pace.
Yeah.
Right? Your nervous system will thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yes.
So much. We've got to move from regulated nervous systems. And if you have not pivoted to something that's authentically you, authentically your song, you're going to constantly be like moving at a pace that's not yours and your nervous system always elevated,
Oh,
always up
please
here.
talk more about that because that is exactly how I used to be when I was booked and busy. I was always sick.
Mm,
My hands would start shake every time I got nervous. Like I got really nervous. I had
yeah.
horrible anxiety. Just please talk
Yes,
more.
yes. And so it's interesting that we don't talk enough. I think am starting to see it more, but we don't talk enough in the business world, entrepreneurship, about how to best manage anxiety
Mm,
and our nervous systems.
mhm,
And when we allow ourselves to move at a pace that's not ours, our window of tolerance shifts,
mm, okay.
right? And so if anxiety normal baseline is here, right? And you haven't done the work to sufficiently regulate your nervous system to make sure that you're moving from your own song, to make sure that you're moving from your own pace, your baseline can move to here
Mm,
so that your window of tolerance becomes much more narrow.
yep.
Same thing happens with in anxiety with breathing. When we
Mhm,
are anxious, we are much more constricted in our breath.
mhm,
We only use about a third to a half of our lung
mhm.
capacity. Most people are unaware that our lungs go all the way down past our navels.
Yep.
And when we're in parasympathetic nervous system, which is relax, rest, digest, I also throw in restore,
Mm,
we are breathing at our full capacity. But when we are anxious, we are only allowing ourselves a small space of tolerance for our breathing. And so when you really dive into who you are or who you are becoming as an entrepreneur, nervous system regulation has to be a part of that. So whether it's getting on the mat every day and doing yoga so that you're breathing more and calming your nervous system, or sitting for meditation at some point every day, allowing your space to be quiet so that you have some contemplation in your day, going for walks in nature. I cannot wait till the end of this week and the temperatures rise, because
Yeah.
I have been missing my morning walks. That deep freeze that we got from December into January, I was not about it.
Yeah, and all this snow. I'm in Jersey,
And
so
all
we
this
be
snow.
getting snow, 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 snow.
Yes, I used to live in Connecticut. We used to get that kind of weather there all the time. And that's why I moved to DC, Maryland area. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
It followed me this year. I was
This
so
year was
hurt.
bad every year. I don't know what's going on with Mother Nature. We pissed her off, I guess, because it was bad
Right?
every year this
Exactly.
year.
But that getting out into fresh air and sunshine,
Yes.
so key for our nervous systems. How we nourish ourselves, how we feed ourselves can be such a game changer in regulating our nervous systems. Are we getting enough sleep?
Hmm.
Or are we running on 4 hours every day? That is not good for our nervous systems, nor is it good for our brains. But, our nervous systems need rest. And so all of that plays a role in being the kind of entrepreneurs we really want to be in the world. All of it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's talked about enough at
No.
all. We don't hear any. I don't specifically. I will talk for myself, but
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody talking about nervous system regulation, especially for Black women entrepreneurs.
That's
And we
right.
can say for entrepreneurs, but we're gonna add
Right.
that Black woman on because that's who the community
Right.
is. That's who this podcast serves,
Yeah.
and we need it
We do,
the
because
most.
we are often the ones who are running the candle at both, burning the candle at both ends.
Mhm.
Very much. I
Mhm.
know so many Black women entrepreneurs who are married, have kids, and have aging parents, and they're trying to run a
Mm.
business. I look
Mm.
at them and I'm in amazement, because I am not
Yeah.
married. I don't have no kids. And my mom is still, she's good right now. She's in her 70s and healthy. So I'm like, ooh, how do y'all even?
Listen, I'm on the same time because I plan to get married soon. I plan to have children at some
Uh-huh.
point, and
There
it's
you
just like
go.
have I struggle with making the time for myself now. So,
Right.
how's that gonna be? I'm gonna come to you, Shervon, and get some coaching and figure out my new identity, I guess, because I don't
There we
know.
go.
Moms are amazing was the point of that whole conversation.
Oh, I'm always amazed at what Black women can do.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
so much.
That's my community, and that's why I love speaking with and
Yeah.
learning from Black women
Yeah.
because seriously, I'm always amazed. I'm always taking like I think people sometimes think I'm joking when I say I take notes, but like I literally will have a full page of notes from these interviews. I'm not joking.
I hear
I'm
you.
here learning, y'all.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we have to make sure we still honor
Yes,
ourselves by taking care of ourselves,
absolutely.
because we do no one a service, especially ourselves, by burning ourselves out and then shortening our lives.
Mhm. Mhm. And that end
Mhm.
piece that's the most important,
Yeah.
shortening our lives because we don't
Yeah.
see it as that,
Right.
but that's what it
But
is.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stress
absolutely.
does kill.
Yes.
They have now proven that in science.
Mhm.
And lack of sleep. Actually, I just saw one of my favorite podcasters is Stephen Bartlett, and he had a woman on, a doctor, neuroscientist, I think, who talked about the research of every night that you lack getting your full hours of sleep,
Mm.
you chip away at your brain
Mm,
faster towards dementia.
mm,
And she believes it is why women get hit with dementia
mm.
more than men, because we are always notoriously sleep deprived,
Yep.
different
Yep.
points in our lives. And right now, for my age group, it's menopause.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it's huge. We've got to take better care of ourselves. Reconsider, like for my age group, hormone replacement therapy
Mm.
so that you can actually get sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things like that. We have to really put ourselves back on the top of our list so that we're here to do the work that we really want to do in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a mic drop moment, but I'm not done with you. Um, you have given us some really great advice throughout this conversation, but
Yeah.
if you have anything else specifically for Black women entrepreneurs,
Mm,
please.
so much.
We have all the time, so please.
So much. Definitely read the taking care of yourself is the biggest part,
Yeah.
because even if you're not an entrepreneur, as Black women, like we're running a household, right? As women, we're running a household,
Mhm.
taking care of kids or aging parents or ourselves and a spouse. The household, right,
Yeah.
needs us, right? And so putting ourselves at the bottom of our list does us no good. And I know of way too many women who are managing the kinds of disease or diagnoses that are preventable
Mhm.
with just taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's the big one. I think if you are stepping into or are in entrepreneurship, it's knowing your own sovereignty,
Mm.
right? Going back to like me looking at my friends who are expanding their practices in that kind of way, and I should have known in that
Mm.
moment, like, wait a minute, that's not really what I necessarily want. Because when I was first told, a friend of mine who was already expanding his practice said, "You should do that." I said, "Oh, absolutely not. I'm not interested in that."
Hmm. Yeah.
That was actually my first thought.
Mm.
And I should have stuck with my first thought
Mhm.
so that I could just expand into what my heart was desiring.
Mm.
But at the same time, it was a great lesson. I've
Yeah.
learned some things, which
Yeah.
I can now help other people with.
Right.
So if I had not had that experience, you know.
Right.
The other piece is don't build from survival mode. The identities that we have all crafted in our lives often have been built from survival mode. Conditioning from our childhood, traumas from our childhood and young adult lives have all created the identity that we step into as adults. And we don't often do that consciously.
Mm.
And so the invitation needs to really be for each of us to start to do the inner work so that we can meet the person we truly are, to
Mm.
come home to the person we truly are, so that we're not building from this space of like trauma or burnout or,
Yeah.
an identity that no longer serves us. We need to step fully into the powerful people that we are
Yeah.
and stop belittling ourselves. We are way more powerful than we give ourselves credit for,
Yeah.
right? We are children of God.
Mm.
Why would God make any of us small,
Mm. Yes.
right? When kings and queens have children, those children are royalty.
Mhm.
We don't seem to think that
Mm.
on this side
Yeah.
of our existence, right?
Yeah.
We are way more powerful than we give ourselves credit. And so we need to step into that identity. And that's where expansion happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and I really like metaphors and, analogies that help me
Yeah.
learn, and that one it was perfect, like, we are children of God, God is a king, right? We are
Yep.
royalty. I
Yep.
love that because I have never really thought of myself like that,
Right.
and Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. I just think that's a very powerful mindset.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially coming from a Christian background, why have I never had that mindset, right?
Right, because they don't speak that way at church.
Mm, mm.
And that's a problem.
Okay, we're not gonna get on that because that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole
Maybe,
episode.
maybe we'll bring you back and we'll discuss that because
I would love to talk about that.
okay, so this is set. Okay, Shervon, you're coming back and we're gonna discuss that because I have a lot
Woo.
to say and I would
Yeah.
love to learn from
Oh, that would be
you.
a lovely conversation.
So
I'm here for it.
it's set. We're definitely gonna have you back.
Oh.
So we'll talk about all of that, church and growing up in the Christian household, and
Mhm.
yes, yes, we will
Yeah,
have that discussion. But
indeed. Indeed. I'd be happy to.
until then, Siobhan, please tell us about your guide. Why insight isn't enough to create lasting change, and then please tell us all about where we can find you. You have an online community, website, all the goodies. Please,
All the
please
good things, yes.
yes.
So that guide I created last year because oftentimes I'm guilty as everybody else of getting a self-help book or reading an article or consuming a podcast episode and getting the information and going, oh man, that was great. Mentally, we know it as truth. Mentally, we take it in and maybe we shift or make a goal here or shift how we're doing something over there, but we don't integrate it into how we believe we should be moving in the world,
Mm,
and we don't integrate it into the actions that we take in the world so that we're not embodying the information.
mm,
And so insight alone doesn't help us to move forward in expansion.
yeah.
And it's embodiment that actually does. Because when you can embody a new idea, that means you're thinking about it, you have whatever beliefs that formulate around it or feelings around it. And then you ask the question like, okay, so if this is true for me, how do I move?
Mm,
How do I make a decision from this place?
yeah.
What needs to shift in my world or in my life or in my business to make this true for me? Right? And so
Yes.
that's where that guide kind of takes us. And then it offers for people to either come to one of my master classes where I talk about a whole bunch of these kinds of different ideas in reference to entrepreneurship, or just hop on a call with me for an alignment call. And so I'm assuming that in the show notes we'll have all the things, but people
Absolutely.
can reach me at elevatewithshervon.com, or I'm on Instagram, Shervon Laurice, and I'm on, let's see, LinkedIn, Shervon Laurice, and you can find all of my podcast episodes posted on my YouTube channel under Shervon Laurice as well. Or actually, and it could also be Restore Tranquility because that's how I opened it originally.
Everything will be in the show notes. So, yes, don't
Yeah.
worry. We'll have all the links. I really
Mhm.
love your guide because I, what you said is so true. The insight is kind of just like the spark.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, ooh, I learned something new. Um, Especially when I'm listening to podcasts. But anytime I'm learning something new, it's like,
Hmm.
ooh, I learned something new. I'm motivated to do something with it.
Yep.
But what do I do?
Yeah.
Right? So your guide is just
And
like,
that
"Okay,
is
there we
what I
go."
do in my coaching program is help people go from, okay, I got this spark. So what do I do with that?
Yes.
That's where we go. How do you embody it? Because the embodiment makes the change. Then
Mm,
you don't you eventually don't have to keep going back to that same topic. It's
mhm.
part of who you are. It's shifted your identity and you've moved forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. So how amazing was that? I know. One of my favorite parts of this conversation was when Shervon talked about us being children of God. Now, if you've listened to the podcast or listened to any of my other content, you know that I am not very religious, like at all. But I did grow up in the church, and this is a mindset that I don't ever remember learning. Right. But it's such a powerful mindset to have. If God is royalty and we are children of God, then we are royalty as well. Mm. This is something that I'm definitely learning to embody. So you will see me along my journey of learning to embody this royalty mindset. But anyway, make sure you check out Shervon's website and make sure you check out her free guide, Why Insight Isn't Enough to Create Lasting Change. It is all on her website, and you can check that out at elevatewithshervon.com.